Hello and welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Here's a look at what's lined up for you on the show tonight. Our cover story tonight is about the Nord Stream pipeline explosions. The Nord Stream natural gas pipelines that, remember, were attacked and damaged last September by underwater explosions. And for 9 months, there have been a series of claims and counterclaims, accusations and rebuttals. But the mystery, you see, has only deepened. And tonight, we tell you about a fresh twist in the tale, a dangerous twist. Leaked Pentagon papers suggesting that it was Ukraine that sabotaged the line. You heard that right. Not just that, America was aware of this plan. So did Ukraine really bomb the Nord Stream pipeline? Did Ukraine's military order that attack on the Nord Stream? What really is the truth? We tell you what we know so far and discuss this and more shortly. But also on the show for you tonight, we decode whether Iran's hypersonic missile is all hype or is it truly hypersonic. We tell you all about the Germany-India submarine deal and its significance, and India's defense strategy to buy the best from the best. Which is the most expensive city in the world for expats? We answer that for you along with the factors that make the city that expensive. A study says yoga and walking can help in the fight against cancer. We tell you more. Did Ukraine bomb the Nord Stream pipeline? Over the months, we have heard numerous narratives of who could have been behind the deep sea attack. Was it Russia or was it the CIA? Chances are neither. Leaked Pentagon papers suggesting that it was Ukraine that sabotaged the line. Let me repeat, Ukraine sabotaged the gas pipeline. It was blown up in September 2022, remember. The leaked papers say that Ukraine's original plan was to attack the pipeline in June. Between the 5th and the 17th, on the heels of a major allied naval exercise called the Baltops. The plan of action was something like this. 6 members of Ukraine's special forces would rent a boat, reach the attack site, use a submersible vehicle to dive to the floor of the Baltic Sea, and then try to destroy the Nord Stream or damage it. And these Ukrainian individuals, by the way, would carry oxygen for the dive, also helium, which is often used in deep sea dives. And how much of this plan was actually implemented? Well, we do know that the Nord Stream was damaged. So Ukraine's plan did materialize, its operation was successful, but there was a slight change in the plan of action. You see, German investigators probing the attack believe that 6 Ukrainian individuals arrived in Ukraine in September using fake passports. They rented a sailing yacht and then planted explosives on the pipeline. And this was all done at the depth of 240 feet, meaning that the operatives had to be skilled divers. Also, German investigators believe that the Ukrainians did carry helium which they used underwater to stay focused. Now, guess what? The United States knew about it all along. Apparently, the CIA smelled something fishy months before the leak started. And guess who else knew? The European Spy Agency. That's right. In fact, it was the EU Intelligence Analysis Center that informed the CIA about Ukraine's plan. So let's just get this straight. We are being told that the US knew the Nord Stream would be blown up. Europe knew the Nord Stream would be blown up. And yet, the Nord Stream was indeed blown up. How does this even work? Why was nothing done to stop an attack on critical infrastructure? Was there not enough time? Were the divers already too close to the pipeline?
Наших воїнів, кращі громадян України, які стали, але ти маєш бути впевнений.
Also, had they already planted the bombs? Far from it. Like I told you, the pipeline was blown up in September 2022. The spy agencies knew it 3 months in advance. 3 months. And they also knew that those responsible for the attack were reporting directly to this man, Valery Zaluzhny. He is Ukraine's commander-in-chief, and apparently he was put in charge of the attack so that Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky would not know about the operation, giving him plausible deniability. But did Zelensky really not know what was going on under his nose? You see, this is one of those stories that carry more questions than answers. It is a story of spies and sabotage, of smokes and mirrors, and no winners. The attack was on European energy infrastructure. Following it, European gas prices shot through the roof. Who paid for it? The people of Europe. For all you know, this is exactly what Ukraine actually wanted. You know, to antagonize Europeans and pin the blame on Russia, so that the anti-Russian sentiment could brew in Europe, nudging the governments to do more, extend more political, material, military support to Ukraine. Well, Ukraine's plan may or may not have actually worked out, but what did European spies actually gain from their inaction? Germany knew about Ukraine's plan. Its spies knew how heavily Germany relies on Russia for gas. And we are talking about half of its gas consumption. And yet, Germany sat on the information. Reports say German intel personnel did brief some lawmakers about what actually was going on, about what was cooking. But to what end, really? And what was the CIA doing all along? There were 3 underwater explosions on the 26th of September last year. Both the Nord Stream and the Nord Stream 2 stood damaged. The US President Joe Biden called it a deliberate act of sabotage. In Denmark, the country's prime minister said it is hard to imagine that it is accidental. The Polish prime minister said that we can clearly see that it is an act of sabotage. In fact, some Western leaders hinted that Russia could be trying to blackmail Europe, you know, by punching holes in the pipeline ahead of the winter season. And over 9 months on, there is no evidence linking the Kremlin to the Nord Stream sabotage. Instead, today, the world is looking at Ukraine, at its military and at its president. Also at the West, of course. Will they hold Ukraine accountable? German investigators have been able to match the residue of the explosives to the traces found inside the cabin of the yacht. So there is evidence. They've also been able to trace the company that owns the yacht. But the question is, how will Europe use this information? Will Ukraine be asked tough questions, or will the findings of the probe be used to bubble wrap the next batch of defense equipment that Europe sends to Ukraine? The White House is silent, and we honestly are not surprised, because you see, the US never wanted the Nord Stream to actually take off. Former President Donald Trump, remember, had sanctioned the pipeline. Biden waived the sanctions, but continued to pressurize Germany into dropping phase 2 of the project. America fears that natural gas being transported directly into Germany from Russia will flow against American interests in Europe. And it's another story that Germany did finally halt the final authorization of Nord Stream 2 days before the war started. So that was the answer to whether you should expect the West to pull up Ukraine. So now let's look at whether the West should pull up Kiev. And the answer is yes. You see, attacks like these are bound to set in motion an eye for an eye effect, leaving the warring countries and their allies bereft of critical infrastructure. Also, if you look at the war so far, that is exactly what has happened. There have been repeated attacks on critical infrastructure, resulting in economic loss of lives, of course, loss of future for an entire generation that finds itself caught in the crossfire. And like we have been telling you, the Nord Stream was blown up in September. Here's what happened in October. Russia attacked Ukraine's energy facilities. The same month, a critical Crimean bridge was blown up. Russia responded by attacking more energy infrastructure. And these attacks and counterattacks recently resulted in a flood. And this is what parts of Ukraine look like right now, courtesy the collapse of the country's fifth largest dam. The Kakhovka Dam did not collapse naturally. It was blown up. By whom is the question. And our next story is from Iran. After unveiling a city of missiles and launching an underground airbase, it has taken another big step in what it calls defense preparedness. Have a look at these visuals. Iran has unveiled its first hypersonic missile, a missile which it says can penetrate any defense system. They are calling it Fatah. The name of the missile was reportedly chosen by the Supreme Leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, and roughly translates to make victorious. The missile was unveiled at a ceremony that was attended by the Iranian president, and also in attendance were commanders of Iran's elite Revolutionary Guard Corps. They said the missile can hit any target that they want and cannot be destroyed by any anti-missile system.
The knowledge and science and defense, as well as missile and military industries, have been indigenous in our country. It is not an imported technology, so threats cannot remove this advanced knowledge and industry.
Now here's the thing. The unveiling of Fatah is significant because Iran would become the first country in that region to wield a hypersonic weapon that moves at more than 5 times the speed of sound. But the question is Fatah really capable of what Iran says it is? Are its claims actually credible, or is it all hype about this hypersonic missile? Let's find out. Let's start off with what Iran is actually saying. It claims the missile is capable of traveling at a speed of up to Mach 15. That's around 15 times the speed of sound, or 16,880 feet per second. In fact, it says the missile has a range of 870 miles. It also says the missile features a movable secondary nozzle that allows for high maneuverability.
At a distance of 1,400 kilometers, we can accurately hit any target we want, and no anti-missile system can deal with it.
And immediately after these claims were made, there was an intense discussion among the military watchers about the capabilities of the missile and the claimed speed. And some of them even cast doubts on Iran's claims, especially about Fatah being a hypersonic missile. They labeled it as an Iranian attempt at information warfare. And here's what one military expert was quoted as saying: "In the dearth of any substantial evidence, it is hard to believe that they have a sophisticated technology that even the most technologically advanced countries are struggling with. Tehran is bluffing or highly exaggerating its capabilities. It is more of an information war, just like we see between Russia and Ukraine." And on Twitter, another military observer raised questions on Iran's claims. He said that the claimed speed of the missile, combined with the burnout velocity, seems a bit high for its range. He says that the speed has perhaps been exaggerated from Mach 12 to 15. And these military observers may or may not be correct. But the fact is that Iran has, on several occasions, been accused of inflating its missile technology claims. In 2020, a website tracking Iran's defense technology accused a Revolutionary Guards commander of lying about a new missile technology. The commander had claimed that Iran had become the first in the world to fire ballistic missiles from underground, notwithstanding the fact that firing missiles from underground or via underground silos dates back to the 1960s. The bottom line is this: yes, Iran invests heavily in its indigenous defense industry. But you see, too often, Iranian leaders are prone to exaggeration. The claims that they make probably signal the direction of the ongoing research instead of depicting the achievements that have actually been made. And they probably do this to perhaps gain the assistance of their partners and allies, like China and Russia. And speaking of partnerships and alliances, India is on course to build new ones. From the United States to Australia to Japan, India, you see, is strengthening its defense and diplomatic ties with a host of countries. And the latest country it has entered into a partnership with is Germany. Have a look at this report. Germany and India are closing in on a deal to build diesel submarines. This deal is aimed at strengthening the Indian Navy's undersea strength, along with bolstering bilateral defense cooperation with a sharp focus on stronger industrial partnerships. The project is part of P75 India. It is one of the biggest Make in India programs. India cleared $5.2 billion or 43,000 crore rupees for the project around 2 years back. The intention was to boost the Navy's capabilities and provide momentum to the defense indigenization drive. And under this project, Germany plans to build 6 diesel submarines for India. The project will be jointly executed by the German Marine Arm, German ThyssenKrupp's Marine Arm, and India's Mazagon Dock Shipbuilders Limited. So why exactly is this agreement a big deal? What's the significance? Simply because submarines are a key need for New Delhi due to its aging fleet, especially when it comes to effective patrolling in the Indian Ocean. And reports say the Indian Navy needs a minimum of 24 conventional submarines, but it currently has only 16. In this fleet, there are 6 recently built vessels. The rest are over 30 years old and are likely to be decommissioned in years to come. So with these challenges in mind, India has embarked on an extensive overhaul of its submarine fleet. The Navy, in fact, plans to operate a fleet of 18 new conventional submarines and 6 nuclear-powered boats. It also plans to operate a fleet of 4 nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarines. And this is all part of a carefully crafted strategy. A strategy to buy the best from the best. You see, India is not vulnerable to one supplier. It is spreading its defense engagement globally, striking deals and agreements with several countries. And this is all part of this plan that was cleared by Nirmala Sitharaman, headed Defense Acquisition Council in the year 2019. This plan was first cleared in 2007, but lay dormant until recently after undergoing numerous changes. And this plan aims to improve upon the indigenous building capacities of submarines in India. It also intends to bring in the latest technologies to facilitate better understanding and development. This plan would provide a major boost to the indigenous design and construction capability of submarines in India. And which firms are part of this plan? There is the French firm Naval Group, Russia's Rosaboronexport, Germany's ThyssenKrupp Marine Systems, and Sweden's Saab. And like I said, India is spreading its defense engagement across the world to increase the might and the capability of its armed forces. This submarine deal with Germany is just one aspect of this engagement, of this enhancement. There are several others. Have a look at this report, for example. It's from March this year itself. That's when India approved the purchase of military equipment worth $8.5 billion. This purchase includes missiles, helicopters, artillery guns, and electronic warfare systems. Another report saying that India plans to boost defense spending by 13% to buy new weapons from contractors all over the world. India, you see, is making massive strides in the defense arena with the aim of diversifying, also modernizing its existing arsenal. Elon Musk is famous for many reasons, but one that stands out is this: his bizarre statements and his controversial opinion on multiple issues. From calling a diver rescuing boys from a flooded cave a pedo to proposing a solution for the Ukraine war, Musk, it seems, never thinks twice before making a statement. He is a self-proclaimed free speech absolutist. He vouches for freedom of speech so much that he bought Twitter for it. Be it controversial Twitter polls or even bizarre press statements, Musk is like a loose cannon shooting out opinions left, right, and center. But when it came to China, even this loose cannon was tame. How exactly? Musk was in Beijing just last week, but his Twitter account was eerily silent. Can you believe that? He mentioned the trip in 2 posts, but he did not tweet even once while he was in China. And this is the man who posts all sorts of stuff on Twitter all the time. Unreserved banter, weird memes, even toilet paper prices have made appearance on his Twitter account. In fact, 2 months back in an interview, Musk commented on Twitter rules in India. He said that they were stricter as compared to the US and censored more content. Now, we would like to know what his opinions really are as far as China is concerned then, the country which officially blocks the social media platform. In 2020, when Tesla first delivered cars made at the Shanghai plant, the billionaire was so happy that he danced on stage. And the press was, of course, there to cover that event. But this time around, things were a lot different. The media was not even allowed in the plant. Musk was fine with that. He had nothing to offer other than silence in China. Isn't this how hypocrisy is defined? You know, you pretend to be someone, but your actions state otherwise. You beat the drums of freedom of speech, but you go silent in Chinese President Xi Jinping's regime. Because to condemn China would mean hurting Tesla's business. It's as simple as that. And principles often go down the drain when money is involved. When Musk did open his mouth only praise came out. He said that the Shanghai plant makes the highest quality Tesla cars. Of course, he said that. Shanghai is Tesla's biggest production hub after all. And just like Musk, Goldman Sachs' David Solomon was also low-key during his China visit. This was in the month of March. Back in 2019, he gave out media interviews. He also participated in several forums. But this year, his only known engagements were closed-door meetings with regulators and China's sovereign wealth fund. You see, it's not just about business. This silence of the powerful and influential elites also has to do with safety. Doing business in China is sensitive, also risky. Xi Jinping has boosted the focus on national security. He has cracked down on consultancies and due diligence firms. Foreign companies never know when they might step over the line of the law. The CEOs keep their heads down and have private lunches. Before traveling to China, they seek advice about Beijing's expansion of the counter-espionage law. Media events and public engagements were once frequent before the pandemic, but now they are rare. US-China political and trade tensions have only worsened. They are at the lowest point, in fact, in decades. It's not in the Western CEOs and the businessmen's interest to speak to the media. You see, they run the risk of questions about political stances. And if it is someone like Elon Musk, one can only imagine the kind of controversies that would follow. So he took the safest path, the most convenient one. He kept his head down and made no comments. But along with that, he also put his hypocrisy in plain sight. A museum exhibition has sparked a cultural war, a controversy. An event displayed black singers dressed as the rulers of ancient Egypt. The singers include stars like Beyonce, even Rihanna, and this has caused major outrage among Egyptian officials. And the officials have now banned Dutch archaeologists from Egypt. Our next report getting you the complete story.
American singers and performers dress up in unique and quirky outfits. Hollywood actors have worn outrageous costumes on the red carpet. Sometimes the outfits make it to the headlines. This story is about an outfit that has triggered a major controversy. So what happened? In the Netherlands, a museum exhibition on how ancient Egypt has influenced modern black musicians displayed black American singers and other performers as Egyptian pharaohs and queens. This attracted strong criticism from Egyptian authorities. Egyptian officials were offended and banned Dutch archaeologists from the country. The Egyptian Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities wrote to this museum 2 weeks ago, accusing it of falsifying history and Afrocentrism. The museum has called out the move, saying Egypt has long been studied primarily as part of the Mediterranean region. But many musicians with African roots emphasize that ancient Egypt is an African culture. Beyonce, one of the most well-known African singers in the world, was heavily criticized for her outfit. The singer dressed up as the Egyptian queen Nefertiti at the Coachella Festival in 2018. Let's tell you a little about Queen Nefertiti, also known as the Lady of All Women. She was the chief consort of the pharaoh Akhenaten, a king who played a prominent role in the cult of the sun god known as the Aton. To put it simply, Nefertiti played a crucial role and had ties with the national god. Experts say that the museum should say that the event was not on Egyptian culture, but it was about African musicians. No Egyptian official visited the exhibition. Museum officials say that the accusation of falsifying history is inappropriate. Beyonce is not the only one being criticized. Artists like singer Rihanna, American rapper Nas, and Hollywood actor Eddie Murphy have also been targeted. The move to ban the archaeologists could have far-reaching implications. The Dutch museum, known as the National Museum of Antiquities, has played an active role in excavations in Saqqara near Cairo since 1975. Experts say the ban could affect a major project in the region. Last month, a documentary called Queen Cleopatra faced a lashback from Egyptian officials. The series displayed a black actress playing the Queen. Egypt was offended and said that Queen Cleopatra had light skin. Officials said that the producers should rely on historical fact. Would banning the archaeologists prove counterproductive for Egypt? Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Let's now tell you about something else that's happening in China. We all know that social media has a rather strong effect on the users, and this time it is spreading what is being called a weight loss wonder drug. It's talking about it. Influencers, the celebrities are pushing this drug. It's called Ozempic. In fact, this frenzy is sweeping through China and encouraging people to aspire for a wafer-thin figure. Does the drug have any side effects? Is this drug actually meant to reduce body weight? Chinese social media platforms are flooded with weight loss stories. Influencers have been bragging about how they lost 10 pounds within a month. But how is that even possible? They used injections of a drug called semaglutide. It's commonly known as Ozempic. Let's just first give you a reality check here. Ozempic is not a weight loss drug. It was originally a medication for diabetes. It was approved in 2021 for the treatment of type 2 diabetes. But people are misusing this for other purposes, like weight loss. So how are people easily gaining access to the drug is the immediate question. It's because of weak regulation. Ozempic, you see, can be bought on the internet where people can simply show false prescriptions and purchase it. The demand for Ozempic has skyrocketed. Pharmacies and hospitals have been running out of it. This has caused problems for diabetes patients, the people for whom the drug is actually meant. And the crisis has led hospitals to not give the drug to non-diabetes patients. And how have the authorities reacted to this chaos? Social media companies have deleted over 5,000 posts related to Ozempic. Social media platforms have also warned the users to not blindly believe the influencers and what they are saying. And the platforms also advise the users to go to formal medical facilities for treatment. And what really are the side effects of Ozempic? The so-called miracle drug has a number of harmful effects. It can cause diarrhea, vomiting, nausea, pancreatitis, and thyroid tumors. And how does it work? Ozempic mimics a digestive hormone which promotes insulin production. And this encourages the cells to produce glucose and lower blood glucose levels. And this prolongs the sensation of your stomach feeling full. Not just that, it also suppresses appetite, making you want to eat less. Although this is a harmful drug if used for weight loss purposes, reports say it may even have more sales in the coming years. Drugs like Ozempic could have a market worth $5.6 billion in China. This is a 600% rise from the current market. The chaos is only intensifying as Chinese firms have been increasing the development of generic versions of Ozempic. And this could mean that people would get cheaper versions of the drug. How further will this drug spread over China, and will other countries also fall prey? From this problematic drug, we turn to China's problematic apps. And the biggest one, of course, being TikTok, an app that many say is a state tool for espionage. A whistleblower has now added fuel to such claims. His name is Yintao Roger Yu. He says that China used TikTok to spy on protesters during the pro-democracy movement in Hong Kong. How exactly? Our next report tells you.
This is Yintao Roger Yu, a former executive at ByteDance, the parent company of TikTok. For over a year, he served as the head of engineering for ByteDance in the United States. He has now turned into a whistleblower, blowing the lid off ByteDance's discreet operations. His latest claim is sensational. He says ByteDance allowed members of the Chinese Communist Party to access the data of Hong Kong civil activists and protesters. These allegations are contained in a San Francisco Superior Court filing made this week as part of a lawsuit brought by Mr. Yu. Here's what Mr. Yu has claimed in the filing. 1. Members of a CCP committee had access to a super user credential, which was also known as God User. This credential allowed them to view all data collected by ByteDance. He also alleged that the committee members were not ByteDance employees, but were physically present at the company's offices in Beijing. They used the God credential to identify and locate Hong Kong protesters, civil rights activists and supporters of the protests. The company apparently also worked with the CCP to promote state propaganda about the protests. In his testimony before the court, Yu says, and we quote, "There was a backdoor to any barrier ByteDance had supposedly installed to protect data from the Chinese Communist Party's surveillance. The party's super user credential was commonly discussed between employees at various levels of the company, including senior executives." These claims are scandalous, but hardly surprising. They only reaffirm what many have long suspected, that TikTok is a Chinese tool for espionage and propaganda, which is why countries around the world have banned it. India was one of the first countries to do this, with other nations soon following suit. In February this year, Canada banned TikTok on all Canadian government devices. Then in March, the European Parliament decided to ban TikTok from staff phones. Then in April, Australia banned TikTok from federal government devices. But unlike India, which has imposed a sweeping nationwide ban, most nations have only banned the app from the devices of government officials. Will the new revelations on how TikTok spies on the common man widen the scope of bans? We say it's about time. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
For the first time in 4 years, Hong Kong is not the most expensive city for expatriates. It has been dethroned by New York. First things first, how does this even get determined? Well, this is according to the ECA International's cost of living rankings for 2023. ECA International analyzes the cost of consumer goods and services. It takes into account rental costs in areas typically inhabited by expats and ranks 207 cities in 120 countries and territories around the world. So which are the other cities on the list? Have a look. New York topping the list. It's the most expensive city in the world for expats, followed by Hong Kong, Geneva, London, Singapore, Zurich, San Francisco, Tel Aviv, Seoul, and Tokyo. These are the world's most expensive cities for expats. Next question, what makes New York the most expensive city for expats? To put it simply, soaring inflation and rising accommodation costs. And there are a series of other takeaways from the list. One of them is how Singapore has gone up on the list. From the 13th place last year, it's now among the top 5 most expensive cities. And for the first time, again, because of major increases in accommodation costs. And then there is Istanbul. It has jumped 95 spots and is now sitting at the 108th spot. According to the report, this jump is because of the 80% surge in prices, driven by President Erdogan's economic policies. And here's what else is revealed by the report. Dubai saw its rank getting pushed up. Why? Because the rents rose by almost 1/3 on an influx of Russian expatriates. And Dubai is now the 12th most expensive for expats. While most European cities rose in rankings, Norwegian and Swedish cities fell on weak currencies. French cities slipped on lower inflation rates as compared to the EU peers. Chinese cities fell in the rankings due to the impact of a weaker currency, also lower inflation rates as compared to other countries. And rankings for all US cities surged on the strong dollar and high inflation, with San Francisco breaking into the top 10. And our next story is about yoga. It has multiple health benefits, but can it also help in the fight against cancer? Researchers are now saying walking and yoga can cut the risk of cancer spreading or returning. Our next report telling you more.
We have all heard about the importance of practicing yoga. The exercises make you feel calm. And now, according to a report, it could also help in the fight against cancer. How? Yoga can cut the risk of cancer spreading through the body. The same doctors who were earlier reluctant to tell patients to exercise are now encouraging them to stay active and practice yoga. Researchers say that it's crucial to stay active after being diagnosed. They say that we have to break the mindset that a patient should not exercise due to cancer treatment regimes. Exercise can only help and not hinder the patients. So how can practicing yoga help patients? You see, inflammation in a cancer patient's body can have harmful effects. It can increase the toxicity burden and thus increase the risk of progression or recurrence of cancers. Studies show that doing yoga reduces inflammation in a patient's body. Yoga also helps remove fatigue. Researchers say that if a patient takes regular yoga classes, the exercise can help relieve fatigue and maintain the quality of life. Regular yoga practice can also help lower the risk of death. Yoga can help patients who especially live a sedentary lifestyle. Studies show that patients who started the exercise lived a healthier life. This includes patients who took just a 30-minute walk once a day. Considering how hard life can be for cancer patients, scientists say even doing light chores can go a long way. At the end of the day, yoga is a holistic healing process. It can have numerous benefits, like making you feel more energetic. The exercise will keep you in a brighter mood and reduce stress. Your brain will also get trained to not catch negative feelings. Yoga helps you sleep better. You can practice a bedtime yoga routine. It puts you in the right mindset and calmly prepares your body to go to sleep. Yoga can connect you with a supportive community. People usually join yoga classes to learn the exercises. This way, you get to socialize and experience a state of group healing. Scriptures say that the aim of yoga is to help with self-realization. This means overcoming all sufferings and reaching a state of liberation. Yoga is certainly liberating people from many illnesses. Would you consider practicing yoga on a daily basis? Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Let's now tell you what else made news around the world. Time for Gravitas Global Headlines.
Turkey's lira plunged 7% to a record low in its biggest daily sell-off since a historic 2021 crash, as the newly elected government appeared to loosen stabilizing measures in its pivot to more orthodox policies. Severe cyclonic storm Biparjoy, located 880 kilometers west of Goa in the Arabian Sea. Indian Met Office says it is likely to move northwards towards Pakistan and intensify into a very severe cyclonic storm over the next 24 hours. Indian government to pump in $10.8 billion to revive state-owned telecom major BSNL, including 4G and 5G spectrum. Bid to push BSNL as a stable telecom service provider, enabling connectivity to remote areas in the country. At least 2 people were killed and 5 others injured after a gunman fired into a crowd outside the venue of a high school graduation ceremony in Virginia. Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development raises global growth outlook for 2.7% as inflation eases and China drops COVID restrictions. It warns, however, that full recovery faces a long road ahead. Germany set to host the biggest air deployment exercise in NATO history, with the intent of impressing allies and potential adversaries. Air Defender 23 exercises starting next week will see 10,000 participants from 25 nations participating. Pope Francis appeared at his weekly general audience before leaving for a hospital in Rome for an intestine surgery. He underwent a checkup procedure a day before. Adulterated cider kills 30 in Russia. 30 people die in western Russia days after consuming adulterated cider. Dozens others have been reported to be sick in several regions. Authorities have detained 1 person and have ordered the drink to be withdrawn from sale. As per reports, the cider contained lethal amounts of methanol, more than the average amount found in regular alcoholic drinks. Reigning French Open champion Iga Swiatek maintains her 100% record against world number 6 Coco Gauff to reach the semi-finals in Paris. The top seed will face Brazil's Beatrix Haddad Maia, who claimed a historic victory over world number 7 Ons Jabeur to reach her maiden Grand Slam semi-finals. England all-rounder Moeen Ali has reversed his retirement from Test cricket and been added to England's Ashes squad after answering an SOS call from the team's management. The 35-year-old, who played his last Test in September 2021, replaces injured spinner Jack Leach in the squad for the first 2 Tests.
On that note, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas. We are leaving you with Gravitas images. Thanks very much for watching.